An all-powerful God create a rock so heavy that even he can't lift it? If so, that means there's something God can't lift, which means God is not all-powerful. If God can't create a rock that he can't lift, then that means he's not all-powerful because there's something he can't create. To truly be all-powerful, God would need to defy logic by creating a rock he can't lift, but still be able to lift it.
We have a lot of types of impossibilities, right? We have physical possibilities. Physical possibilities are things that could exist without logical contradiction, right? For example, we have a sea of mercury. A sea of mercury could theoretically exist, right? There's no logical contradiction in its existence. But God knows it will never exist, right? Because mercury is a real element. A large quantity of mercury could theoretically exist, right? And there's nothing in its nature that prevents it from forming a sea. And the laws of physics do not make it impossible. Then we have logical impossibilities, right? Things that cannot exist by their very nature, right? They contain internal contradictions. For example, the famous squared circle. Being a circle contradicts being a square, right? Another example, we have a part is bigger than its whole. That's logically impossible. Why? Because a part must be smaller. It's that simple, right? And when we say 1 + 1 = 2, this isn't particular to this world. Rather, this is a universal concept, right? It applies to the next life. It applies to the angels. It applies to the throne. It applies to everything, right? This is a universal concept, right? And the question contains an inherent logical contradiction, right? It's like saying, can unlimited power create something that limits itself, right? This is a logical contradiction, right? God's power is absolute and complete, right? His power doesn't extend to logical contradictions because logical contradictions aren't things that can be created, right? There are meaningless combinations of words, right? Their impossibility doesn't limit God's power, right? Rather than ever subject to power at all. Right? And they're gonna be like, so God is bound by logic? Can God defy logic? Right? Time out, right? God's omnipotence isn't, diminished by logic at all. Rather, it is magnified through it, right? Creating a reality where truth cannot contradict itself reveals a power so absolute that it needs no paradox to prove itself.